Man walking his dog by river gets chills when he realizes they're not alone. Oh, Florida, whether it's the aggregation of blue-haired retirees, its ever-growing competing theme parks, or its wildly frightening creepy crawlies, there's no place like it. When Florida resident Trent Tweddle and his dog went for a morning stroll in the summer of 2020, the duo had an unfortunate encounter with one such terror. And sadly, it wasn't a granny with a walker. Trent was petrified when an aggressive animal approached him and his pooch, and things got ugly fast. Trent Tweddle and his dog Loki thought it was just another ordinary day when they went for a stroll on their Wesley Chapel farm. But out-of-the-ordinary events were lying just ahead. Considering Florida's climate is, as you well know, hot and muggy, little Loki dipped his toes in the nearby creek to cool off. What's the harm in that, right? Well, that's when things turned south. The 6-year-old rescue pooch couldn't have been happier. That is until something grabbed him from below the water's surface. With its bony scales and jagged teeth, the monster appeared out of nowhere. Trent was in a state of shock. The dog had his front paws in the river here that swelled after all the rain, and the dog was attacked by a gator. Trent told WFLA-TV, "Yep, that's right, an alligator. It's practically Florida's mascot." An enormous gator about 13 feet long pulled little Loki into the water. The former Army Staff Sergeant didn't hesitate and snatched the dog's collar. The little brown and white pup, the black spot over his left eye, was Trent's pride and joy, who he'd do anything to save. I grabbed the dog's collar and tried to pull him back, and I ended up in a tug-of-war match with this gator, and the gator was not letting go, he said. Trent and the gator were neck to neck, with Trent literally trying to keep the reptile from gnawing on Loki's neck. Trent realized he was getting nowhere, and tugging on Loki's collar could potentially choke the pup. Trusting his gut, Trent let the collar go before leaping into the water. It was time for Plan B. So I let go of the collar and I got about knee-deep into the water and I started pounding on the gator's head until he eventually let go. Trent continued. He had no other choice. It was a miracle that the feisty reptile let go at all. Alligators have a chomp measuring 2,125 pounds per square inch of force. For reference, humans have an average bite measuring just 150 pounds per square inch of force. If Trent hadn't acted so fast, well, Loki might have been chopped meat. With a jaw that strong, it's an absolute marvel that didn't happen. But Loki didn't exactly escape scot-free. While Trent was lucky enough to get out with only a few scratches, the poor canine's front leg was nearly severed. He underwent emergency surgery, which felt like a nightmare. When I pulled him back up, the bones were out and it just looked like his arm was just hanging by a shred. Trent explained. It was a particularly horrifying sight for the dog dad, who considers Loki his family. Loki's emergency surgery was very Frankenstein-esque. They put metal plates and screws in and were just able to reconstruct it that way. We're hoping that he can regain full use of his paws after this, Trent said. This catastrophe, as you could imagine, affected Trent deeply. While you can look at it as simply nature's way, predator versus prey, the hierarchy of the food chain, that wasn't enough for Trent. He was angry. Trent made it his mission to catch the gator in question. He wouldn't rest until he captured Loki's reptilian attacker, even setting a gator trap in the swampy area where the incident occurred. Still, he needed help. With the aid of the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, Trent dangled a chunk of meat above the water's surface to entice the creature. He hoped the scaly guy would leap up, snatch the bait, and set off the trap. But Trent didn't exactly use a spare filet mignon as bait. The trapper didn't have any bait, so I grabbed one of my roosters and we used him as bait for the trap. We haven't had any luck yet, he admitted. R.I.P. We love our dog a lot, and I'd fight tooth and nail for him, Trent said of his rescue pooch. Seeing innocent Loki with a giant cone around his neck and a powder blue cast wrapped around his leg motivated Trent to catch the alligator. Though his gentle dog wouldn't hurt a fly, Trent knew if the situation was reversed, Loki would have used his teeth to scare the pants off that gator and save his owner. In fact, the scenario isn't unheard of.